WDAY. 970 WDAY AM and 93.1 FM. Fargo Moorhead.
And welcome to Weather and Ag in Focus. Thanks for joining us on this windy but warm Wednesday afternoon. We got temperatures right around 64 right now. This is Weather and Ag in Focus. I'm meteorologist Justin Storm, here with Ag Director Bridgette Readel and Chief Meteorologist Dean Wysocki, and you're listening to us on WDAY Radio, 93.1 FM, 970 AM, as well as watching us while we stream live to Acres TV, Facebook Live, and YouTube Live. Go check out those pages, give them a like and a follow, and get alerted after all of our shows are uploaded during and after the shows air. Dean, Bridgette, how are you guys doing today on this windy afternoon?
My toupee just flew into southern Canada.
I saw that.
Yes.
I thought you looked different.
If you thought that was a dead squirrel flying, nope, that wasn't it. It is windy.
Admitting is the first step.
Those winds are quite strong, actually, out of the south, gusting over 30 at times. Temperatures mid-upper 60s. We've got a cloud deck that's kind of hanging over the FM area that's limiting what otherwise would be temperatures close to 70, where there is some more sunshine out to our west. Their temperatures are already in the low 70s. That's crazy for this time of the year. Got to love it, though. Got to take advantage of it for sure, because it's not going to last much longer. Although even when we cool off, we're only cooling off to near normal. So yeah, that's not bad.
Imagine that, cooling off to normal temperatures.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is 40s and near 50. That's
40s?
not bad.
That's not bad. Yeah, I think we should be right around 45, I believe, is our average high temperature here in Fargo.
But above that, boy, do we have some possible surprises for next week.
I love surprises, Dean.
I love surprises, too. But
I see Bridgette over there.
Shaking
She's like,
her head.
I don't know.
It's good. Well, it's good news because it means moisture. So that is the good news. And we've been talking about a pattern change for the first few weeks in November, and we're finally starting to see that. And now the question is, how much moisture do we get out of it? Because this is more than likely going to be the wet part of the LRC cycle. And so it's going to start off dry, and then if this is the wet cycle, we better hope for quite a bit of moisture out of this. And fingers are crossed. We'll see how it pans out.
What's this? I heard some weird noises outside. I was thinking maybe they were the tornado sirens, but I don't know if they do that in November. Yeah, that's the tornado sirens. There we go.
There's no tornadoes.
That's the
for some reason they're testing it in November.
Testing it in November, I guess. First Wednesday of every month. We have had tornadoes in November before.
We have.
Yep, I was just going to say that. I remember very clearly having tornadoes in November. Not often, but they can happen. And I'm all for those testings. Let's make sure that we get everybody accurate information whenever we can. And that's why you listen to us here on WDAY.
Right.
So I got a little trivia for you.
Okay.
Bring that right after we send you over to ABC News, so stay tuned.
From ABC News, I'm Richard Cantu. Federal Reserve governors meet today, and they will be raising the cost of money, a fourth straight 0.75 of a percentage point hike. The central bank trying to cool the economy enough to tamp down prices without triggering a recession. Moody's Analytics chief economist Mark Zandi says the Fed may just pull it off.
With a little bit of luck on things like the pandemic and the Russian invasion of Ukraine, if nothing else goes wrong, and with some reasonably deft policy making by the Fed, they don't have to be perfect, but they have to be roughly right. I think we'll make our way through with actually experiencing an outright recession.
January 6th committee Republican Liz Cheney says the panel is negotiating with the last president's lawyers on him maybe testifying before the panel.
Cheney telling PBS NewsHour that they will not let former President Trump dictate what the January 6th committee asks him under oath.
He has a legal obligation to testify, but that doesn't always carry weight with Donald Trump.
Cheney co-chairs the January 6th committee and says that they must legally finish their work, including deposing Donald Trump, by the end of the year. Andy Field, ABC News, Washington.
David DePape, charged with beating Paul Pelosi with a hammer after breaking into the home he shares with his House Speaker wife, appeared in court in San Francisco. He pleaded not guilty to state charges, and there is new information about his case.
The court filing stating that DePape was on a suicide mission, planning to attack not only Nancy Pelosi, but other California and federal officials. Now, he is due back in court on Friday for a bail hearing, currently being held without bail.
ABC's Mola Lengi. Sources tell ABC News that U.S. Capitol Police had cameras outside the Pelosi home, but they were not being monitored at the time of the home invasion. A federal judge in Alexandria, Virginia, sentenced Kansas native Allison Fluke Ekron to 20 years in prison on her guilty plea to leading an all-female Islamic State battalion in Syria. You're listening to ABC News.
Do you know what people see when they Google you? Search engines don't always get it right. And when they're wrong, it's your reputation on the line. So what do you do when you don't agree with your search results? Call Reputation Defender at 800-401-6681. Reputation Defender by Norton is one of the most trusted names in online reputation repair. We have over a decade of experience in fixing people's search results, and we can help you too. Using cutting-edge approaches, Reputation Defender pushes unflattering information down to lower pages of your search results, where few people ever look. We also promote the good stuff so that it rises to the top, letting you put your best foot forward. Your good name is too valuable to leave to the whims of a Google algorithm. You owe it to yourself to take control with Reputation Defender. Visit www.reputationdefender.com or call 800-401-6681 for free advice on your situation. 800-401-6681. That's 800-401-6681.
What do you tell folks when they ask who your insurance agent is and why?
DJ's great. His practice has been not just an insurance agent, but also there's a friendship there. They are very open about their communications with their clients. They want to do everything they can to help their clients. I've got multiple policies with him: auto, home, life insurance, an umbrella policy. Anything and everything you need insurance-wise, you can get from DJ Coulter Insurance.
DJ Coulter, American Family Insurance, 235-6641, djcoulter.com.
Hi, this is Representative Ruth Buffalo with a friendly reminder to get out and vote in this November election. If you haven't voted already, make sure to stop by the early voting locations that open on Halloween and go through November 3rd. Throughout my first term, I have fought for new laws that focus on human trafficking prevention and awareness training, a missing persons database, and getting the database fully funded. I will continue to be a strong voice for you in Bismarck, fighting for our working families. Paid for by Friends of Ruth Buffalo, Aaron Busick, Treasurer.
Angry outbursts, bullying, harassment, and emotional abuse. The allegations against State Senate candidate Dan Bomer are horrifying. Divorce records say the cops were called to Bomer's home multiple times, and he had to be escorted from a doctor's office by police. Worse, Bomer recorded his young son while he showered. He recorded his wife while she slept, and broke into their bedroom after she barricaded the door. Bomer even made her drive herself to the doctor while suffering a miscarriage. After their divorce, Bomer paid his child support late, too, weeks at a time, failing to provide for his young children. After all that, Dan Bomer wants to represent us in the state Senate. But after calling his own wife a cunt, stupid, a parasite, we should never call Dan Bomer senator.
This independent expenditure is paid for by the DFL Senate Caucus. It is not coordinated with or approved by any candidate, nor is any candidate responsible for it.
Welcome back to Weather and Ag in Focus. I'm meteorologist Justin Storm here with Chief Meteorologist Dean Wysocki, Ag Director Bridgette Readel. We got fun things in store for you today on the show. A few ag topics that we're going to get to today.
What was your trivia?
Well, we'll get to that, Dean. Just wait. I know you're eager.
Man,
I know you're eager. just a second. I gotta let people know what's coming up on the show.
It's not like Dean can win.
Good point, Bridgette.
Dean can't win.
Good point.
No,
good point.
He cannot. And maybe we can turn this into a little prize. Maybe we give away. Well, I'll just quiz you guys. We'll hold off on the rain gauge. Maybe there's another way that you can win one of those rain gauges. So make sure you're paying attention throughout the show, especially if you're watching us on the stream. So coming up on the show today, a few topics that we're going to try to get to. That's conditioning dry soybeans and some Illinois research findings to combat global hunger, as well as the meat science behind the McRib. What is it?
There's meat in that?
Is it actually meat? I don't know. I bet you Bridgette's going to be able to tell us all about this McRib.
You're going to burst my bubble on that one, aren't you?
The McRib?
Yeah.
Oh, I can't stand them. Oh, man. You like them.
Bridgette,
you
right?
like the McRib.
How do you not like the McRib?
Oh, man. I've had one, and I never got another one. There's a reason why they're not on the menu throughout the whole year. All right.
All right. I guess I'll be the tiebreaker on this one later when we bring it up.
All right. Trivia question. Because we heard the sirens going off. That's the monthly test. They do that.
Correct.
I'm not exactly sure if they do it through the winter. You think I would know? I don't know. But spring, summer, fall, the first Wednesday of every month, they blow the sirens at 1 o'clock. We just heard those going off. That leaded into my trivia question, just some random knowledge that I just so happen to know. Between the years of 1950 and 2017, Dean, Bridgette, how many tornadoes have been confirmed in North Dakota in November?
I'm going to go with
here,
5.
Dean. You can't look at my monitor. It's just an email list with all the email questions for our guests that will be coming on later today. We'll tease that in a
I'm going to
moment.
say 5.
Between 2000, what was the years?
1950 and 2017.
How many tornadoes in North Dakota?
And to be fair, I don't think we had any the last couple of years, so you could probably stretch that out to today.
I'm going to say 12.
Bridgette, you're the winner. There are 5 confirmed tornadoes in North Dakota over that 67-year stretch. So it's an interesting little fact.
I knew.
They don't happen very often.
I knew it was rare.
Although, is there a possibility we could add to that this year? There's always the possibility.
We've got a pretty big...
Okay. Why? Why would we add to that? What conditions would be conducive in November this year that would be different from the last couple?
I'm glad you asked, Bridgette, because
What a great segue.
Because next week, all of our long-range models, every one of them, are pumping out a huge spring-like storm system in our area by next week. A couple of them have us on the warm side with basically a blizzard in the western part of the state and severe weather in the east. We'll see if that pans out. And then behind that, there's a second system that could bring us accumulating snow. So we could have, in the same week, we could have severe weather followed by snow.
Ain't that something? Very typical spring-like storm systems will be rolling in off the Rockies. We're seeing some pretty good signs of that happening. Of course, we're still talking about something 7 and 10 days.
So it will change.
So there are going to be changes to it, and the certainty is not high on exactly where this is going to track. Is there a chance this continues to push west? Of course there is. Could it go a little further east and maybe we get in on a little more snow? It's a possibility. We'll just have to wait and see exactly how this starts to progress as it comes on land or on shore over this upcoming weekend.
Yeah, but at least we're getting, signs, signature from our models that we're finally, we're a month into the LRC, almost a month in, 3.5 weeks.
No direct hits by any
and
storm
we have
systems?
not gotten direct hits by any of them. So could this be the stormy part of the LRC cycle where we finally get the moisture that we need? Let's hope so, because then that means when the cycle does set, when the LRC cycle does set itself, the first part pretty dry, the second part a little wet. So that's something to look forward to.
Definitely.
Fingers crossed. Again, just because our models are predicting it, it's not what's being predicted, it's actually what happens. So we'll see how this does pan out, but let's hope so.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm going to open up the phone lines for anyone who wants to call in with any questions or comments. Want to join in on our conversation. Give us a phone call, 701-293-9000. That'll connect you live to us here at Weather and Ag in Focus on our Fargo beautiful studios overlooking I-29 where we play highway bingo all day. Ask us those questions anytime during the show, or if you want to send us an email during or after the show, you can reach us at weatherorag@flagfamily.com. Those are both of our email addresses. Don't forget, find us on Facebook and YouTube, Weather and Ag in Focus.
And we've got a return guest for today.
Indeed.
Yes, he is Mark Anderson. If you remember, we had him on earlier this season. He is a farmer just south of Moorhead. So we're going to check in with Mark and find out how the harvest went. Did it go as expected? Any equipment failure? Any damaged equipment from the dryness that the fields have been experiencing? And we'll talk that. And what about the potential? Like if we have, if this second part of the LRC cycle is dry, what's Mark going to do next season preparing for drought conditions? So we'll have those questions. And if you have any questions for Mark once he comes on again, 701-293-9000. That's 293-9000. We've got to pay the bills, so we better take care of some business right here. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back with our guest coming up next.
Hi, this is Kevin Pfeiffer with Pfeiffer's Auction Company. Pfeiffer's upcoming November auctions include 480 acres of crop and pasture land in McLean County, 192 acres of cropland in Wells County, 640 acres of excellent cropland in McHenry County near Upham, North Dakota, and in Minnesota, 123 acres of cropland in Clay County and 401 acres of cropland in Douglas County. View these auctions and many more land and farm equipment retirement auctions at Pfeiffer's.com.
Hi, this is Representative Ruth Buffalo with a friendly reminder to get out and vote in this November election. If you haven't voted already, make sure to stop by the early voting locations that open on Halloween and go through November 3rd. Throughout my first term, I have fought for new laws that focus on human trafficking prevention and awareness training, a missing persons database, and getting the database fully funded. I will continue to be a strong voice for you in Bismarck, fighting for our working families. Paid for by Friends of Ruth Buffalo, Aaron Busick, Treasurer.
Download the app, sign up, and say bye-bye, bugs. Tommy's Express Car Wash is that easy. Tommy's offers a cleaner car wash and an overall better experience. Wash your car as often as needed. And the best part, after 3 washes, it pays for itself, and you can use it at all 3 other FM locations. Download the app, pre-buy, and skip the line. Or stop by one of their 3 locally owned Tommy's Express Car Wash locations. Tommy's Express Car Wash. Love your ride.
Save now on premium mattresses, pillows, bases, and linens at Accord Comfort Sleep Systems directly across from Olive Garden. Find the best mattress design and construction with our exclusive technologies such as our Accord Comfort Reflex Layer, ensuring proper spinal alignment. Our Thermodyne climate control fabric is perfect for the couple sleeping hot and cold. Buy today and take it home today, or free delivery in the FM metro area. Accord Comfort Sleep Systems. You're going to love sleeping with us.
It's Jay and Ronnie from the Coffee Club, and we're here to tell you the original My Slippers are almost completely sold out. My Slippers has a brand new all-season slippers, slides, and sandals for as low as $29.98.
This is a limited time offer, so go to mypillow.com, use promo code WDAY, and get all new footwear for as low as $29.98. All-season slippers are made with exclusive 4-layer design that you won't find in any other slipper.
They are finished with a breathable fabric so you can wear them all year round. Slides and sandals are made with patented impact gel, making them ultra comfortable and extremely durable, guaranteed. They will make the most comfortable footwear you'll ever wear.
So just go to mypillow.com or call the number on the screen and get your very own all-season slipper, slides, and sandals as low as $29.98 with promo code WDAY. This is an introductory offer, so it won't last long. Order now. Call 800-875-0644.
Welcome back to Weather and Ag in Focus. Thank you for joining us this afternoon on a windy but mild day out there today. I'm Chief Meteorologist Dean Wysocki, along with Meteorologist Justin Storm and our wonderful, talented Ag Director, Bridgette Readel. Bridgette, do we get a cowbell for this nice weather?
I think we can.
All right, excellent. Well, we've got a return guest for us, and it's Mark Anderson. He's a local farmer, and I asked Mark if he would mind coming on and kind of giving us an update on how his harvest went and all that good stuff. So thank you for joining us, Mark. How's your day going?
Well, just great, Dean. How are you guys?
Awesome. Doing well. So why don't you give us a recap on how the harvest went? I was reading, or not reading, but I was doing some research on the NDAWN site for our general area. And since I believe it was July, our area was 5 to 10, it was between 5 and 9 inches, I should say, below normal in terms of rainfall. Did that affect your harvest at all or the output?
No, actually, it was probably the best harvest I've ever had. We caught just enough rain. The crops were good. The prices are good. It didn't have to combine in the snow, and it went surprisingly well. Everything went better than expected. I did hear some stories on some of the drier areas with people having trouble with seed harvesters going in the ground and, just really hard, dry conditions. But ours was pretty good, so we must have gotten just a few little rains here here and there that helped.
That does help. That and refresh if refresh our memories. You're doing corn and beans, correct?
Corn, beans, wheat, and sugar beets.
Okay. And you had no problem with the sugar beets?
Nope, it went well. Our piling site, we hauled a Sabin, but because of rotation, there were a lot less acres going in there, and so they let us add extra trucks. So instead of 2 trucks all day or 24 hours, we had 4 trucks 24 hours. So you could just do the math, and it took us about half as long. And the beets were a little, I think we averaged like 26.5 tons, so we were really happy. The sugar content was high, higher than normal, so it was a very good year.
That's good. I'm
And
glad
for
to
your
hear.
year, Mark, you really didn't run into much for disease, right? I mean, there's a regular pattern that you're going to spray for any disease pressure, whether it's in your sugar beets and in your other crops. But would you say you had less interference from disease this year due to drier conditions?
Probably, but American Crystal, they basically tell us when to spray, and they're very, they go a little overboard sometimes. I use a crop consultant, so between the two of them, but for it's mostly Cercospora diseases in the fall or starting in July, and we probably spray them 4 to 5 times from there to harvest. And the diseases in the spring, usually root rot and those diseases, and those are usually on high moisture years where the soil is saturated, and we didn't have any of that this year because we were fairly dry. So yeah, the diseases were way down, I thought. A lot of the corn, is we plant BT corn for root maggot and different things. So most of the seed treatment is on the corn already. So we do very little fungicide spraying on the corn.
So how about
overall, go ahead, Justin.
I was going to say, how about the equipment? How did all that hold up with everything? Did you have any issues during or before or even after harvest with your equipment?
We always have some breakdowns, but mud is way harder on equipment than dry. We had to stop a couple times and blow out air filters. A couple of the nights were really windy and dusty, so we had to pull the trucks in and blow out the air filters and the tractors and stuff. But it's way better than mud. Mud is not any fun, so that's where you break things, clutches and rear ends and transmissions and all that, all the expensive stuff. So we had very little breakdowns this year also. So
good deal. Go ahead, Bridgette.
So, Mark, as you think about going into next year, with it being looking like a drier forecast right now, what does that do to changes that you might make in what you buy for seed? Anything, considerations that you might make in your soybeans or corn if you think it might be drier versus wetter?
Yeah, actually, we've got a couple fields that normally in a dry year, the year following sugar beets, that ground is drier yet, because the sugar beets take out a lot of moisture. We got a couple fields that would probably normally be corn, and we're just because the fertilizer for corn and wheat are a little different. We're not going to fertilize them this fall and just kind of wait and see. We might go to wheat if it's still dry in the spring, because the wheat takes less moisture and a little earlier harvest. If you get 4, 5, 6 inches during the growing season, you get a pretty decent wheat crop. But for corn, you probably need 8 to 10, 12 inches to get a decent corn crop. So that's about the only thing. Most of our rotation is around the beets, because we rotate them every 4 years. And a lot of the corn chemicals, you can't plant beets on corn ground if you use certain chemicals because of the carryover and things like that. So most of our rotation is pretty well set.
Excellent. And Mark, are you? I know some farmers after harvest they're not even tilling the land because it's just too dry. They want to kind of keep the moisture that's in there, staying put for the most part. Are you doing anything of the sort, or are you doing anything different?
In the one farm south of Barnesville is really sandy, and we did not work the bean ground over there.
Okay.
But most of the soil around in our township is really heavy gumbo, and if you don't work it in the fall, it's a mess in the spring. Because, like we're talking about a drought right now, but we can catch up in one night. We can get 4, 5, 6 inches in one night. And so you kind of plan for what's normal, and then you adapt when you have to. So.
Right, and going along the lines of the adapting, we had kind of touched on this a little bit when we first had you on a few months ago. But with the late plant earlier this year, I know a lot of people were expecting, bad yields, bad crop, just because there wasn't much on time. And you had just mentioned you had one of the best crops that you've had for harvest, at least. What changes, or did you make any changes this spring that maybe impacted those yields that you had? Did you switch to like a shorter day corn, or what kind of changes did you happen to make?
No, we switched a couple of fields just because we could plant them earlier, and so we planted corn where we would have planted some beans, and then planted beans where we would have planted corn, just because those fields were way wetter. And we basically planted up until the 20th of May for corn, and then we started planting beans, because we were afraid we were going to get really wet corn in the fall. And I guess Mother Nature can fix or harm. She has the control, because all our corn was fairly dry, hauled it right in the elevator. A lot of it, they didn't even dry. I know a lot of people I've talked to are trying to figure out what to do with all their propane they pre-bought, because they didn't use hardly any of it. So I know some of the jobbers are offering to store it till next year for, a handling fee or something. But a lot of them, the way things were this spring, everybody was worried about getting stuff. We had to pre-buy a lot of chemicals and stuff because we were worried we wouldn't get it. And same thing with propane. In about July or August, my jobber, he said, if you want it, you got to pay for it now, and I'll store it, but I got to get it in here, because you don't know come fall if it's going to be short and that kind of stuff. So, but it turned out pretty good. So, you just plan ahead, and hopefully it works out.
Well, good. And one last question for you there, Mark. Now that the harvest is done and everything, what are you doing in the off season? Do you do anything? Are you prepping for the upcoming year? What does that kind of look like for you?
Well, I get to tell you a little story quick. About 30 years ago, I was planting the field the first day, and my wife came walking out, and she said, I want to mow the lawn. And I said, well, I haven't got the lawnmower ready yet. I'll do it after I get done seeding. And so an hour later, I looked up, and here a John Deere pickup and trailer pulled into my yard, and my lawnmower got on it, and it went away. And 2 hours later, it came back, and she's mowing lawn, and I got a bill for $400. So I have my lawnmower in the shop getting ready. It's the first thing in the shop in the fall to get ready for the spring, is my wife's lawnmower. So that's what I was working on today. So, but no, we kind of, everybody does. You kind of make a list of things you need to fix, and we'll bring something in once a week and ding on it over the winter, depending on what it is. And nowadays, things, getting parts, you have to really pre-plan to get parts and stuff. If you know something's going to be, that you might have some trouble with, I've known guys that had to wait a month to 6 weeks for a certain part to come in, and you can't afford that in the spring when you're ready to go. So you kind of check things over and try and prevent some of that downtime.
Right. Well, Mark, I want to thank you very much for joining us here on Weather and Ag in Focus again. We appreciate you jumping on here and giving us a little insight of how the harvest went for you and what things were looking like. And I'm sure, hopefully, at least a lot of people around kind of had the same kind of a story where they had a better yield and harvest than what they were expecting with that late plant and the kind of dry conditions. But like you said, it seemed like we just got just enough rain over a periodical period to keep those plants thriving, at least to some scale. But
and Mark, just on a side note, we will have, I know I've talked to you about the LRC and how we're using that for forecasting long term. So we're having our winter weather outlook special December 7th. The LRC is expected to be set by then, and we'll kind of be able to give you and all the other ag community around here an idea of what what the spring and summer will look like. I remember last year we forecasted a very wet spring, and sure enough, that's what panned out with a late plant. So we'll kind of see, but the next 3 weeks here are going to be very crucial to the LRC, where if we stay dry these next 3 weeks, so we're going into that stormy cycle, and if those storms miss us by quite a bit, we may be looking at drought conditions for next year, which would obviously affect what you're doing as well.
Yep. No, and it's, our soil, we have a lot of subsoil moisture, but I'm pretty sure we used that up last year. So, like normally a one dry year we can handle pretty good. Start going into 2 or 3 dry years, and that's when you're going to see the yield reductions and that kind of stuff. So hopefully it'll be a good report. We could use some moisture.
Let's hope so.
Yeah,
let's hope so.
Definitely.
Well, Mark, thank you again for joining us. We appreciate you taking some time out of your day. When we come back, we will be talking a little ag topic. We'll be covering some national weather. We'll be diving into a little bit more about the LRC. All of that when we come back. Stay with us.
Are you, a family member, your neighbor, or friend saving for something special or have unexpected expenses? Labor Masters is here to help. Hi, Nancy Kelly here. The process is simple. Bring your picture ID, a social security card or birth certificate. It takes 10 minutes to fill out the application, and we'll put you to work. So come in, go to work, and get paid the same day. To learn more, go to labormasters.net. The best companies, great jobs, and daily pay.
I'm David Chapman, and I'm a candidate for district judge. Our courts were designed to interpret and enforce the law. Our courts were not designed to write the law, which is the job of our elected legislators. In North Dakota, our judiciary carefully respects this special role, and I am a candidate because I wish to use my years of experience to continue that tradition of enforcing the law regardless of personal preference. If elected, I would be honored to serve.
Paid for by David Chapman.
Anyone can get a room for gatherings. At Herd and Horns, we provide an experience. Whether it be dinner, corporate event, grad party, groom's dinner, no matter what the occasion, at Herd and Horns, you get a great time. All ages are welcome, plenty of room and games like pool, darts, virtual golf, and more, plus a private bar. Begin the booking process now. Email info@herdandhorns.com or call 701-551-7000. Herd and Horns next to campus in North Fargo, and so much more than bar food.
I'm Kristen Roars, District 27 State Senator, and I'm seeking re-election. As a nurse, I'm trained to assess the needs of those I'm helping and provide solutions. As our district grows, we need to address the rising cost of living, the struggles growing communities and farmers are facing, and the daycare and workforce shortages by electing legislators who have the experience and vision to get things done. I've accomplished many things during my first term and want to continue serving as an advocate and voice for the residents in District 27. On November 8th, vote to send me back to the North Dakota State Senate.
Paid for by Vote for Roars. Hayden Wiersbacher, Treasurer.
In public, Rick Becker says he opposes federal crop insurance for our farmers and ranchers.
No, I don't support any federal insurance.
But behind closed doors, he has reaped hundreds of thousands of dollars from the government for his businesses, $200,000 in property tax breaks alone. And despite getting all of this government money for his businesses, Becker opposes a vital program like federal crop insurance for our farmers and ranchers. In fact, without federal crop insurance, North Dakota is just one natural disaster away from wiping out our state's ag industry. And when challenged about the government support his businesses received, Becker callously said,
"Don't hate the player, hate the game."
Rick Becker will end federal crop insurance, and North Dakota farm families will pay the price.
North Dakota Strong paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertising, not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee. Learn more at northdakotastrong.org.
In the field, it's good to have a friend you can count on. One that's hardworking, trustworthy, and always shows up. Just like LG Seeds. Our corn hybrids and soybean varieties deliver consistent performance across all your acres, giving you reliable yield you can expect. Start this season right with LG Seeds. Talk to your local dealer or visit lgseeds.com for more information.
What made InVigor Hybrid Canola everything it is today? Every InVigor canola grower, of course. This year we have 2 exciting new 300 Series hybrids for your farm, both with patented pod shatter reduction technology to help protect yield potential, even under adverse weather conditions. Plus, more seed treatment options than ever. In other words, there's never been a better time to grow in Vigor hybrids on your farm. Talk to your BASF authorized retailer to book your In Vigor canola today.
Welcome back. Glad you're joining us here on WDAY Weather and Ag in Focus. I'm Bridgette Readel, Ag Director, along with Chief Meteorologist Dean Wysocki and Justin Storm, Meteorologist Extraordinaire, and he's my IT guy in the background when no one else is looking. So today we have been having a great time talking about the weather, the upcoming LRC cycle, how harvest has wrapped up for some of our area farmers. Again, thank you to Mark Anderson for not only listening, but chiming in to share his story about what's happening on his farm south of Moorhead. Now,
that was real interesting, Bridgette, because I've heard, I mean, again, maybe Mark was in a real sweet spot, if you will, because I've heard other farmers say, you know, our yields were good, but not, you know, they could have been better. So, I mean,
it's so variable.
Well, it can always be better.
Well, of course, but, you know, we could have used, you know, they just didn't get that timely moisture. I was talking to a farmer down in northeast Nebraska around the Norfolk area, and he was almost in, and it broke my heart. He was almost in tears because he said, we're almost 15 inches below normal. He's like, and he's like, we just don't know what we're going to do if we don't get any moisture. And I think the good news is for areas down to our south in the Central Plains, I think they're going to get a little more moisture here over the next few weeks, which will help a little bit. But yeah, it's just, it breaks your heart to hear some of those stories, unfortunately.
Well, Dean, you said directly to Mark, you know, what do you think about going into this year dry? And Mark returned that reply and said, we could change this in one night in the spring if we got enough rainfall. And he's exactly right. That does happen up here. Mm-hmm. What's been going on in that area that you just mentioned, western Nebraska, Kansas, the plains of Oklahoma, those folks are so far behind. They need weeks of good, steady, gentle rainfall to catch up. They can't take flash flooding. Ground won't be able to absorb it fast enough. But you're right. In those areas, they are very hard hit and had little to no yield in their crop.
Right.
And part of this LRC cycle is focusing these storms down to our south. So that will absolutely benefit those areas.
Yeah, really will. Yes. And just quickly taking a look at the U.S. drought conditions, we're still dealing with a moderate drought D1. That's a level 1 drought here throughout most of North Dakota. A couple pockets around the central portion of the state at a D2 or severe, as well as far western North Dakota, portions of northeast and northern Montana, and a D3 extreme drought. Good news is it looks like there's some appreciable moisture on the way for northern Montana. That would be great. And then, of course, the worst areas, Oklahoma, Kansas, up into Nebraska, as well as over into California. Again, good news, onshore flow off the Pacific will lead to some more storm systems rolling over the Rockies into the central portion of the U.S., Probably not going to fix the drought conditions, but it will make them better.
Yeah, and I was reading an article about how La Nina, and again, this is just one part of the atmospheric puzzle. The LRC is a central part, but anything we can get to help. I was reading an article that La Nina is expected to diminish and end by early 2023, and possible El Nino pattern might be developing shortly after that. That is what the West Coast needs, because typically with El Nino patterns, you're going to get central southern California, the desert southwest into the Four Corners area along the southern tier of the U.S. quite wet.
You know what's going to be interesting is if that ends up verifying and we end up flipping the switch from El Nino to La Nina, once this LRC pattern cycles, how is that portion of the puzzle going to affect the LRC? Exactly. Where are these storm systems exactly going to shift to? They're still going to be there, but they might not track over the same exact area if we flip that switch from El Nino to La Nina. So that'll be very fun to see how this changes into January and February.
It's going to be a tricky late winter into spring and early summer forecast, depending on what happens there, too.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we just had, right? Because this past winter, we came out of winter, everybody thought, well, we're kind of on the dry side. Then we had 2 major blizzards, rainfall. We were late planted. There were soybeans still getting planted in early July. It could happen again.
Right. And then once we got into the summer months, we were anticipating a little bit more of that moisture to fall throughout our area, focusing along that Canadian border, which is where most of it did fall. But a lot of those storm systems, when that jet stream weakened and lifted further north, it carried those storm systems just a little further out of our area where that rainfall then did fall along the Canadian border and mostly into southern Canada. So it's just very fun to see how the seasonal changes happen, the El Nino, La Nina, how that plays a factor into it. And as well, you can't forget about the polar vortex. That plays a factor in it as well. A lot of things to keep track of, which makes the LRC forecast so tricky. But once you get it down, it's such a fascinating tool to use the forecast.
Well, you said the polar vortex. I can't wait till you talk about Alberta Clippers because we like to blame Canada.
Oh, we love the Clippers. I think I asked this before. You know how the Alberta Clippers got their name?
How is that?
So Alberta, where they come from, is the first part. But why Clipper? Why did it get the name Clipper? Dean, you already know this. Dean or Bridgette, I don't believe I've told you that. But they were named after the Clipper ship, one of the fastest ships of its time due to the general speed of the Alberta Clipper being a fast-moving storm system.
That's excellent.
He's a wealth of knowledge, isn't he?
Well,
trivia
you know what? Earlier, there was a little bit of knowledge that Justin wanted to touch on earlier, and that was the McRib.
Oh, yes, the McRib. What's the science behind it? What goes into it that makes Dean think that the McRib is a delicacy?
This is going to make you both happy because we get to talk about the McRib for Justin, but then we also talk about the fact that the meat science behind it came from the University of Nebraska. So this happened about the time that
you're responsible
McDonald's
for it.
McDonald's wanted to develop this particular menu item. And what happened was the National Pork Producers Council went to meat scientists at University of Nebraska and said, how could we do it? Well, those guys said it's going to be a little bit like making sausage. But what they did do was use salt to extract proteins from the muscle, and then they used that protein to help hold the meat together. A mold was formed, and not like green mold on your cheese, mind you, but the mold to make the McRib look like its shape, and they moved forward with it. And so it's a love-hate relationship on the McDonald's menu. There are some parts of the globe that love it and have it on year-round. Here in the U.S., it kind of goes back and forth as to when it's on, and it may not always be nationwide. But the McRib really did come from the meat science labs at the University of Nebraska.
So it is real meat.
It's real meat put into a mold and stamped with a 200-ton press. Yeah, it's real meat. Let me just print out some patties real quick.
These things happen, gentlemen, but that's one of those items. So yes, little fun fact for you there. And additionally, everybody know what November 2nd is? Anyone? Bueller?
Yes. This is the anniversary of the Cubs winning the World Series back in 2016. Is that it?
Boo, Dean, boo. It's North Dakota's birthday.
Well, that too.
Yeah, so
that too.
Sure about the Cubs. Right, the Cubs. Got it. Wrote that down.
Can't forget about the Cubs.
But no. It is North Dakota's birthday, and it is also South Dakota's birthday, of course, because at the time that they were signed into statehood, the president didn't really decide who was going to sign first, so he shuffled the papers, signed them, and it's just been assumed North Dakota got statehood before South Dakota because we're alphabetical.
Hey, is there still that rumor going around of just combining North and South Dakota and just a mega Dakota?
I'm sure someone's going to bring it up, but then we'd have to have the fight like they did during Dakota Territory about where to put the state capital, because the Dakota Territory capital was, I believe, at Yankton. And then at the time that they divided into statehood, there was a little bit of a fight and drama when Pierre and Bismarck came out on top.
Here is an idea. If they turn North and South Dakota into mega Dakota, because of the size, why not just have two capitals and leave them where they're at?
Right, like that's going to work. Come on, small towns fight over sports mergers. Can you imagine two states after a state capital? Goodness. So now I have all sorts of North Dakota agriculture facts that go along with it being our birthday for statehood. There are 86.3% of the state farms in this state are owned by families or individuals. There's 26,000 farmers here in North Dakota. And I know it says average farm size is about 1,500 acres. I always say no to that only because that's that's if you include every smaller farm. Like if I work full time, but I also farm on the side, yes, 1,500 acres is probably about right. If I look at an operation that is totally just focused on farming, it's probably more like 5,000 or 6,000 acres is average farm size in this state. Something to keep in mind.
Big farm.
How many?
Farm,
26,000 farmers? Is that what you said?
26,000 farmers.
How
yes,
many?
there are.
Okay, I'm going to put a spin on that. How many of those are female?
Oh, that's a great point, because as you and I discussed in an article, globally, over 50% of the farm decisions are made by women.
Mm-hmm.
Here within the state, I would suspect that's a smaller number that are run by women. There's still quite a few that are, and there's no doubt there's a lot of husband-wife teams that operate together, and she's the farmer just as much as he is. So that's a good number we'll have to look up. I don't know exactly what it would be.
And what did you say the average size on those were? Did you say 5,000 to 6,000 acres?
On farms that are primarily focused, where that's what you're doing is you're farming full time, about 5,000 to 6,000. Whereas when we do the average across smaller operations, tossing that in, that gets us to about 1,500. But we have some very large
400 acres. I thought 400 acres took me a
your
while
simulator
to harvest and plow and till and farming simulator 22. I can only imagine
We got
doing 6,000.
We've got work.
But hey, I don't use that
Work for you
GPS
there.
stuff. I'm behind the wheel. I'm actually sitting there driving the tractor, sipping on the bush latte, planting crooked lines.
You know, there's more plants in a crooked line. You're just increasing your yield.
That's right.
There you
That's
go.
why we do it. Well, we still have
and
more.
Speaking of that yield.
Oh, yes.
Yep. Speaking of that yield, we're going to have to go listen to what your market prices are so you can compare that to your yield versus price for your profitability. And we'll do that by catching up with the American Ag Network right after this.
Download the app, sign up, and say bye-bye, bugs. Tommy's Express Car Wash is that easy. Tommy's offers a cleaner car wash and an overall better experience. Wash your car as often as needed. And the best part, after 3 washes, it pays for itself, and you can use it at all 3 other FM locations. Download the app, pre-buy, and skip the line. Or stop by one of their 3 locally owned Tommy's Express Car Wash locations. Tommy's Express Car Wash. Love your ride.
Hey, it's 494 Ronnie from the Jay Thomas Show. And listen, MyPillow is having one of their biggest sales of the year, this time percale sheets. They're available in a variety of colors and sizes and are all on sale. For example, the queen size regular price, $89.98, now only $39.98 with your promo code WDAY. Order now, because when they're gone, they're gone. The percale sheets are breathable and have a cool, crisp feel. These come with a 10-year warranty. Nobody else gives you that. And a 60-day money-back guarantee. Don't miss out on this incredible offer. There is a limited supply. So order now. Go to MyPillow.com, click on the radio listener square, and use promo code WDAY. You will also get deep discounts on all MyPillow products. Call 800-875-0644 and use promo code WDAY, or go to MyPillow.com. That's MyPillow.com. Using promo code WDAY.
Oil and natural gas create opportunities for North Dakota. In fact, over 50,000 North Dakotans have good-paying jobs thanks to the oil and natural gas industry. Real people finding prosperity in their careers and bringing it home for their families and communities. It's one of the many ways oil and natural gas are making life better in North Dakota for generations. North Dakota's oil and natural gas, advancing the possibilities.
Wheat sharply lower, beans were firm. For the American Ag Network, I'm Richard Rispa with this closing market. Wheat stayed under heavy selling pressure all day after news this morning broke that Russia is back in on the grain initiative deal that allows Ukrainian grains out of the Black Sea region. However, there is some unconfirmed sources that say they're not going to make their decision till November 18th, and so that will keep the market in suspense until then and probably see quite a bit of volatility. Beans and corn also started the day lower. However, beans fought their way back and hit positivity around the noon hour. Corn did stay under modest pressure all day long. And in the livestock complex, feeders did see some triple-digit support and, in fact, over $2 today higher. Hogs, however, saw triple-digit pressure, while feeders saw some moderate pressure all day. Crude oil prices were higher today on rumors that China may pare back its zero COVID policy early next year. Now, those are just rumors, but there is some substance behind them. They are using those words in their state media, so that could be a positive note. Now, any commodities that China imports will get a boost if their economy opens back up. Let's get a look at the closing commodity numbers. December corn down 10 1/4 at 687.5. Beans November up 4 1/4 at 14.40. Bean meal December down 30 cents a ton at 424.50. Bean oil December up 2.24 at 75.61. Wheat Chicago December down 56.5 at 8.46. Kansas City December down 49 3/4 at 9.40 1/4. And the Minneapolis December wheat, that is down 41 1/4 at 9.48.5. Live cattle December down 55 at 151.40. Feeders November up $2 at 178.92. And the December lean hogs, they are down $1.90 at 83.30. While the Dow right now is up almost 300 points, the dollar sits at 110.6, and crude oil is trading up a little over $1.50 at just under $90 a barrel. For the American Ag Network, I'm Richard Ristvet.
Welcome back to Weather and Ag in Focus. Thanks for joining us. 154 right now here in the studios in South Fargo. We're looking at temperatures in the mid-60s with wind gusting upwards of 40 miles per hour. I'm here, meteorologist Justin Storm here with Chief Meteorologist Dean Wysocki and Ag Director Bridgette Readel, and I got a little announcement to make here really quick. I'm going to call a few people out. We got Mike, Jim, Kevin, Gary, and Terry. You have rain gauges that you have not picked up here at the studio. Come and pick up those rain gauges.
You get 30 days.
You have 30 days, or we're giving them away to somebody else. And you know what? Dean, Bridgette, I didn't tell you about this. Jacob, I already said sorry. We're giving away one more right now. Caller number 5 wins a rain gauge from Productive Alternatives out of Fergus Falls. Give us a call.
Caller 5?
701-293-9000. Caller number 5, you're going to win yourself a rain gauge from Productive Alternatives out of Fergus Falls. And if you'd like to buy one, head over to their website.
Yeah, they're nice.
Well, my guess is
super nice rain gauges.
People were busy. Absolutely. And people have been combining. They haven't had time to come get them. So now's the time to come pick them up. Because as Dean just said, they are nice rain gauges. You might even get a chance to use them yet this fall. Thank you again to Productive Alternatives in Fergus Falls, Minnesota.
Yep. And if you've won over the last 30 days, you can't call in and win another one.
You cannot. And we have the list, so don't try and fool us. Yeah. We got your numbers memorized and saved in our database. We know who's won our rain gauges.
Right. Yes.
Or anything else, really.
Caller 5, 701-293-9000. Sorry, Bridgette. I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's okay, but I just wanted to give a reminder that don't forget next week, Tuesday, November 8th, is election coverage right here on WDAY and our sister station, The Flag, 1100 a.m. Make sure you tune in at 8 o'clock that night until the last election results are in so that we can help you with up-to-the-minute coverage on what's happening for the election. So don't forget to tune in for that.
And the good news is it doesn't look like weather will hamper now. I think that storm's going to hold off till Wednesday or later of next week. There is a slight chance we could see a few showers on Tuesday, but I think for the most part, it should be, at least at this standpoint, it should be weather-free. So, can't use weather as an excuse to not get out and vote next Tuesday.
Right.
I think we have our winner over there.
We have caller 5?
Getting information. It looks like it. We're gonna see if we can get caller number 5 on the air with us here. But
hey Jacob, just put him on. Okay, cool.
Alrighty.
And we have our winner.
And
yeah,
caller, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Mike, Fargo, North Fargo.
Mike, you're not the Mike that won one on Halloween, are you?
No, I'm not the Mike that won one on Halloween. I'm so thankful that I did get out of the shower just in time to call you.
Well, Mike, are you a regular listener to us on Weather and Ag in Focus?
Yes, I am, as a matter of fact.
We're glad that you're a returning listener.
Well, I'm retired. I'm going to be 73 in December, and so, I listen to you guys all the time.
Fantastic.
Yeah, well, thanks for listening, and we hope you enjoy your rain gauge. Did Jacob tell you how you can come pick that up?
Yep. All I got to do is tell my Mike, and I want a rain gauge.
That's right, and make sure it's not Mike from Halloween. It's Mike from November 2nd.
I got that. I'll tell him it's Mike from the shower, November 2nd.
Hey, there we go.
Hey, thanks for listening, Mike, and congratulations on winning the rain gauge.
Thank you.
And
Thank
Mike,
you.
always let us know what's in your rain gauge. We're happy to hear it.
Yep. Always.
And the next time I call, I'll make sure I'm not in the shower.
Okay, that's a good thing. All right. Well, that was quick, and
that was quick.
It's always nice to give away, a nice prize like these rain gauges, and
it's not your $3 one from the Walmart checkout aisle.
No, and like Bridgette said, when you win these rain gauges, feel free. You can email us your rainfall totals and
send us pictures. We'll share them on our Facebook page. And
because those rainfall totals, they do help. We report those to the National Weather Service, and then that helps them out as well.
Yes, definitely does. Bridgette, I think we got time for one more ag topic before the top of the hour. Which one is shorter? I got a feeling it's conditioning dry soybeans.
Well, it probably is, and that is a reminder from North Dakota State University right now that if you have been harvesting your soybeans and your moisture is indeed low, which would be the case, like we heard from Mark just a little bit ago, harvest went very well. But if they're too dry, farmers can condition those beans by putting a little moisture back into them. Not often we have to dry soybeans. Mostly we avoid that. When soybeans get too dry, they will crack, become brittle. That'll cause problems in their handling and then down the road for germination. So make sure that if you are looking for some feedback on where should I be putting the moisture level on these beans, should I have the air on my bins, that's a question for either your local extension agent, or you can reach me here at ag@flagfamily.com, and my job is to get you in contact with the right person over at NDSU to make sure that you can keep your soybeans in great condition for the rest of the winter.
Hey, perfect. And that's going to wrap it up for us here on Weather and Ag in Focus. We didn't quite get a minute to touch on the immediate forecast, but stay tuned to WDAY Radio. Dean has a full look at the forecast coming up here at 2:06 with the Jay Thomas Show, which will be coming up next right after we jump off the air. And we just want to thank you again for joining us today. We'll be back tomorrow 1 to 2 o'clock in the afternoon. We hope that you joined us. And remember, you can find us on Facebook and YouTube, where we store all of our videos and our past guests on there. Go ahead, find us on both of those and watch us live, or on our website, WDAYradionow.com. It's 2 o'clock. The Jay Thomas Show is next.
970 WDAY AM.